Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm excited for this video because I am going to be unboxing the new Cricut hat press that came out in March of 2022, and I'm also going to share a couple projects as well. First, I'll just show you what comes in the box. Here is a little packet that has a practice iron-on decal that you can test out if you like. It also has a little pamphlet about the hat press. Here is the actual hat press. It's curved, making it really easy to heat your design on the hats. It's difficult to add iron-on vinyl to hats, so you need a special press like this one to do it. I also really like how small and compact this is. It has 3 levels of heat and heats up to 400 degrees, so you can use iron-on vinyl, infusible ink, and sublimation with this. It also comes with a base to set your hat press in. In the box, there's also tape, and this is strong heat-resistant tape. The reason why you need this is because the hat pressing surface is curved and it requires constant motion, so that can make the design move around on your hat. So this just helps secure it really well. The last item in the box is the pressing form. This contains a firm core surrounded by walnut shells. There is an allergy warning on the packaging if you are allergic to walnuts or nuts. The walnuts allow the form to shape itself to the hat while also providing a firm pressing surface, so I believe that's why Cricut chose that. There is a handle on the pressing form to help fit the hats onto the form. Next, I'm going to activate the Cricut hat press. You will need to download the app called Cricut Heat to activate it. The app works with iOS and Android devices. And just a side note, once the activation is complete, you can use the hat press on its own or you can use it with the app. Once you have the app downloaded, it'll ask you to sign in using your Cricut login info. The hat press uses Bluetooth to connect the hat press machine to your phone or your iPad. So you'll press the OK buttons here, then you'll select Set Up. It'll ask you to plug in your heat press and power it on. Next, you'll connect the hat press to the Bluetooth on your phone. After that, it'll activate the press. Here you can see it's done and you can start your project. Now I'm ready to show you how to make a hat. I bought a set of 3 Cricut ball caps. I'll show you an example using heat transfer vinyl on one of these. The ball caps are made of 80% polyester and 20% cotton, so you can actually use infusible ink or sublimation on these as well. Now I'll show you in Cricut Design Space how I created my design. I'm going to grab my SVG first, so I'm going to click on Upload. Then I am going to select Upload Image and Browse. I'm going to select this SVG here. I downloaded this file from Etsy and I can link this SVG, and I'll link her shop also because she has really cute SVGs. Then I'll select Upload and I'll just bring this into my canvas. So for this SVG, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of the sun. It's really thin, so I wasn't sure how great this would show up on the hat. So what I'm going to do is go up here and select Ungroup. So the way that she did this SVG is each layer is separated by colors. The bad thing with that is it makes it a little bit more difficult to separate everything. So I'm going to have to use the contour button and I'll show you how I do that. I'm just going to hit Undo. First, I just want to delete the sun, so I'm going to select on it. Then I'll come down here and select Contour. I like to think of the Contour button basically as a delete button. It makes it a little bit easier to understand it. First, I'm going to zoom out so you can see the design. I'm going to keep the ends, but I want to delete the rest of the sun. And instead of going in and selecting each one, what I like to do first is select Hide All Contours. It'll automatically keep one, but we want to keep the ends. So I'm just going to select on each end, and then I'm going to select on this. Now all you have to do is click out of it. You can select anywhere, and it gets rid of the sun. And now I want to move hello to the center, but as you can see, hello and the S and the H, they're all one layer. And this is when we need to use the contour tool, is when it's one layer, because you can't separate it any other way. So I'm just gonna hit undo. For this one, I actually need to duplicate it because it won't work just to hide one of them. So what I'm gonna do is go up to the duplicate button. And now for this one, I'm going to get rid of the S and H. And for this one, I'm going to get rid of the hello. So I'm going to select on this one and I'm going to go down to contour. And I'm just going to get rid of the S and the H. And then I'll click the X. And now you can see we just have hello as part of the layer. And now I'm going to come over here and I am going to contour out the hello. So for this one, I'm actually going to select hide all contours. And all I want to keep is the S and the H. So I'll click out. And now you can see that's separate. I can bring this back over here. The contour button can get a little confusing, so I really hope that that makes sense. But now what I'm going to do is weld all of Sunshine together. There's multiple layers with this because it's different colors, but all of this is going to be one color. So I'm just going to make sure I have it lined up how I want it. And now what I like to do is just hover over the whole thing. And as you can see, it's 4 separate layers in the layers panel. And what I'm going to do is just select weld. You can also select attach as well, but I think I'm just going to select weld. And it makes it all one layer, all one color, as you can see in the layers panel here. And the last thing I'm going to do is bring hello over. Now I'm just going to choose my colors. I'm using some fun neon HTV or heat transfer vinyl, and the hello is going to be neon orange. So I'm going to come up here and change it to orange. And for Sunshine, it's going to be yellow. This will just separate it onto different mats. So now what I'm going to do is select both of these and I'm going to group them together because I need to figure out my sizing and I want it grouped together so it all gets sized together. So for the sizing with the hats, Cricut recommends a maximum design size of 2.25 inches for the height and 4.25 inches for the width. You don't want it to be bigger than that because it won't transfer well. So I'm just going to make this the widest I can. I'm going to go up to my width and select 4.25. And it automatically will adjust for the height, which is 1.603, and that's within the limit. Now, one last thing that I'm going to do is grab a sun SVG. I want to try putting this on the bill of the hat. So I'm going to go over to my images, and I'm just going to search for a sun. I'm going to select this one, and I'll hit add to canvas. I don't want the little dashes in here, so I'm going to go over to my contour button again, and I am just going to delete those. You can also select just on the actual image too, which makes it really easy. Sometimes it doesn't line up great, so I like to kind of double check, but that looks good. It'll get rid of that. And for this, there's not a lot of room on the bill, so I am going to make it 1 inch, and it should make it about 1 inch for the height. I want this to be the same yellow vinyl as Sunshine, so I want to make sure I change it to that same yellow color. Okay, now I'm ready to click Make It. I'm going to select on a mat. I'm using the Cricut Maker 3, but you can use any Cricut machine for this project. I am going to mirror both of my designs since I'm using heat transfer vinyl, and then I'm going to click on Continue. I'm using Caesar heat transfer vinyl, but for that, I like to select Everyday Iron-On for my settings, and it works perfectly. I place the HTV face down on the mat. I love these neon colors. These are Caesar brand, and I can link them in my description box. The Cricut will cut out both designs. After the Cricut is done cutting out the designs, I weed out the excess vinyl. You'll want to trim the excess liner close to the design to help it fit onto the hat better, and even though it won't have as much stickiness, I'll be adding some tape on it to secure it well. Now I'm ready to add the pressing form into the hat. I undo the backing and make sure the sweatband is folded out before placing the form into the hat. Then I Velcro the backing back together to make sure the pressing form is fitted nice and tight inside the hat. I smooth it all out to make sure there's no air gaps between the hat and the pressing form. This will create a nice firm pressing surface. Next, I turn on my hat press, then go into my app and select Start a New Project. I will select my transfer material, which is Everyday Iron-On at the top. Then I will go to the bottom and select Ball Cap. Then I'll select Next. It will show a project overview with the recommended settings, which is medium heat for 60 seconds. You can also view detailed instructions, and below that it'll show your material supplies. At the bottom, you can select Send Settings to Hat Press, and it'll automatically set your press to medium heat. At the top, it'll show the temperature of the hat press, and it will also show how many seconds it has left for it to finish heating up to the correct temperature, which I think is pretty neat. While that's heating up, it gives you another chance to look at detailed instructions, and here's what it looks like. Once that's done, it'll automatically turn green. Then I can press the play button and I can preheat my shirt for 5 seconds. Now I'm ready to add my design to the hat, and the important thing here is to make sure that your design is at least 1/2 inch above the brim of the hat. I make sure that my design is straight, then I add my heat-resistant tape to both edges of the design. After placing tape on one side, I smooth the rest of the design down on the hat before placing the other tape down. Now I'm ready to add the hello part. I already have the heat-resistant tape on one side, and I just line it up in the center. Then I add tape to the other side, making sure it's nice and smooth. Here I'm just double checking that everything's laying nice and flat. With a curved surface, it makes it just a little trickier. I also decided to add a little bit more tape around the edges just to make sure it doesn't shift around at all. Now I'm ready to press my design. I select the play button, then run my hat press over the design for 60 seconds. I'm just using a constant motion to make sure my hat press is covering the entire design. I also love how the app will count down for you. The app says to peel it cool, and it'll give some aftercare instructions. After it's cooled down, I remove the tape and the carrier sheet. I just recommend removing the carrier sheet somewhat slow just to make sure it stuck down well and that you didn't miss any parts of it. Look how cute this looks, and it transferred really well. Now I want to add the sun to the bill of the hat. I'm not using my app for this, I just use the same setting, and here I'm just preheating where I'm going to add the sun. I decided I didn't like yellow for the sun, so I ended up cutting it out on the orange vinyl, and here I'm adding the strong heat-resistant tape. I just place it over the entire thing and place it on the bill of the hat. Then I grab my hat press and run it over the sun for 60 seconds. I decided to kind of use the front of the hat press, and that was an easy way to do it. I also want to mention you don't want to use Infusible Ink for the bill of the hat because you have to use a higher heat setting for that, and that could either warp or bend the bill of the hat. Then I removed the tape in the transfer sheet, and it transferred really well. Here I'm removing the pressing form. I love how the hat turned out. My first impression of the hat press is that I love it, and I just think it's so easy to use. It worked really well on heat transfer vinyl. Next, I'm going to test out the hat press with Infusible Ink. I'm going to use the Cricut trucker hat for the Infusible ink. This is made out of 100% polyester, which is perfect for Infusible ink or sublimation, and you can also use heat transfer vinyl as well. I'm going to hide both of these, and then I'm going to grab my SVG for my Infusible ink trucker hat. So I'm going to click on Upload, then I'll click on Upload Image and Browse again. And I'm going to select this SVG. This is from the same Etsy shop, and I just think it's super cute. So I am going to select Upload. Then I'm going to grab this and hit Add to Canvas. For this one, if you look out over in the layers panel, there is a few layers as well. So first what I'm going to do is just hit Ungroup. This one is all one layer, so that's perfect how it is. And this one is also all one layer, and it's because it's all the same color. But this one has 3 different colors. So all I'm going to do is come over to my layers panel. I'm going to hit Shift on my keyboard and select all 3. And then I am just going to weld them together. Now it's all one color. I'm going to be using 3 different colored Infusible ink sheets. I'm going to do a light blue, a yellow, and a darker blue. I'm just going to keep these all 3 the same colors because I'm going to have a lighter blue, a yellow, and a darker blue. This one I actually might make it a little bit darker. I think I'll do that just so that when it brings it onto the mat, it's easier to tell which one is the darker blue. But now I'm just going to highlight over everything and group it together. For my sizing, I could do 4.25 for the width, but I wanted it just not quite so tall, so I'm going to do 4 inches for the width, which makes the height 1.685. Now I'm ready to click on Make It. I'm going to mirror all of these for my transfer sheets. I'll hit Continue. Then I am going to select Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet. Here's the Infusible ink sheets I'm using. It all came in one pack, and I placed the yellow one face up onto the mat first, and the Cricut will cut it out. Then the Cricut will cut out the other 2 sheets. I've weeded out my Infusible ink transfer sheets, and here I'm trimming it down like I did with the heat transfer vinyl. I used my lint roller to clean off the hat, and it had a whole bunch of little specks on it, so it definitely needed it. Then I placed my pressing form inside the hat, and I snapped the back of the hat over it. You'll want to make sure the sweatband is up around the pressing form as well. Then I turn on my hat press, and I will select Start a New Project in the app, and I'll select my transfer material at the bottom, which is Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet, and I'll select Trucker Hat. Then I'll press Next, and it'll show me my recommended settings, which is on high for 90 seconds, and I will send that to my hat press. You can see it brought it to the high setting, and I sped this part up, but it heated all the way up. Now I'm ready to preheat my hat. I place a sheet of butcher paper on top, then I press the play button on my hat press, and I run it over the hat for 5 seconds. After that, I remove the butcher paper. Next, I piece together my Infusible ink transfer sheets. This is a little trickier because it's not all on one since I used 3 different ones, but I decided the best way to do this was line it up and put a sheet of tape just down the middle. I add tape onto each side as well just to make sure that it's more secure. Now I'm ready to add it to my hat. I place it on there and double check that it's at least 1/2 inch above the bill of the hat. Then I added some more tape just to make sure it was placed down really well. Then I placed butcher paper on top. Cricut recommends 3 sheets, and I only did 1, and it ended up being fine. After that, I press the start button and start running my hat press over my design. When you're pressing your design, you want to make sure that you are covering the entire design, and this is especially important with Infusible ink. And in a minute when I take this off, you'll see that it didn't fully transfer on the edges. So I ended up redoing this hat, and I'll show you a few things that helped it transfer a little bit better. So I removed the butcher paper and the tape, and as you can see when I remove it, it didn't transfer very well for the L, the S, and where it says waves at the top. I decided to try it again with a little different approach. So here is a new hat with the same design on top. I placed my butcher paper on the hat, and I decided to heat up just one side of the hat first. I'm starting with the left side of the hat, and I press it for the full 90 seconds on that side. Also, I use more of a firm pressure compared to the last time. Then I run it over the right side of the hat for a full 90 seconds. I also decided to do a little bit more of the center as well. I just wanted to make sure that it transferred all the way. And here's the moment of truth, removing the transfer tape, and it turned out so much better. That is definitely the way to do it. It did have a speck on the inside of the R and just a tiny bit of ghosting if you look really close, and I think that's from moving it around so much. So next time I might just hold it down and press it in place instead of moving it so much. It's also a lot more vibrant pressing it for a longer period of time. Here is the second one I did, and I'll go back to the first one and you can see how dull this first one looks. I hope you found this Cricut hat press tutorial helpful. I really like the machine, and I can't wait to use it on other hats. So look out for another video where I'm going to be testing out non-Cricut brand hats. I'll have the Cricut hat press and all my materials that I used linked down below in my description box. I really appreciate if you buy from those links because I get a small commission from that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I would love it if you subscribed if you are new to my channel.